If you're just a little cover crow like me and a pretty cover makes you buy a book, just buy the book off of the pretty cover. Greetings, royalty. My name is Olivia and welcome back to my realm. So we're just going to kick it off and get this party started. This is my October 2025 TBR filled with spooky creatures, ghosts, ghouls, demons, some magic as well, some demigods, and a whole lot of romance. Plus vampires and werewolves, because we cannot have Halloween without that. So I'm planning to read at least 13 books for the month of October. I have actually already finished one, which was the audiobook At Dark I Become Loathsome by Eric LaRocca, who is a splatterpunk / extreme horror author who reactivated my clinical depression with this work. It was fantastic. I gave it a 5-star, but it is not for the faint of heart, and I will get into that more during my October reading wrap-up next month. So I'm already one book down, but I had already set my TBR before I started recording this video, because I finished that yesterday on October 4th, and today is October 5th. So I added another like novella length work so it could stay 13, because I wanted that spooky number for my TBR. But I anticipate reading more than 13 books because I have just a little bit more of Danica Nava's The Truth According to Ember to finish. And I also started a really great basically new adult fantasy that if you like one of these books on this list, you'll probably like that. And that was Foxes and Poisons by Adina Childs. Yeah, I had a lot of books I started last month, but I didn't finish for various reasons. So let's just get into it. I always say let's get into it, and then I start yapping. So let's actually lock in and get into it. This is Olivia cutting in before we get to the October TBR. I'm going to give a mini HRCYED update right now before I get into everything because I completely forgot. So HRCYED is the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, started by QWERTY here on YouTube. And last month I only read one book that counted towards HRCYED, so I really need to pick up the pace if I want to finish the challenge by July 2026. So just to give a brief overview of some of the like HRCYED prompts I am hitting during this month, I will be hitting a bunch of the spooky creature prompts. So that's like mermaids, ghosts, magic users, etc. So I will be hitting a couple of those. I should be hitting at least one new release because I'm reading something that was just released, I believe, this month. And one that was just released last month as well. And then the other big like category of prompts, I guess I could say, that I'll probably be hitting is Hispanic Heritage Month because I have one book by a Hispanic author, but I also have basically other books that aren't on this list that could potentially hit. So just kind of wanted to give that little HRCYED update as well because I will be doing the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do until July 2026. And so basically any TBR is also related to HRCYED. Okay, back to the video. The first book on my October TBR is Mischief Maker by Lyonne Riley in this beautiful, amazing cover. It follows a farm girl who has to call upon a trickster demon that helped with like this curse that has plagued her farm for years and years and have made her an outcast in her village. Lyonne Riley has a real, like, she's just good for a story that is very spicy with magic and fantasy that also just has a really compelling couple. I've read a little bit of this already and I am really loving their dynamic. So yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy this book and I am currently reading it in Kobo Plus, and I just realized that the audiobook is also in Kobo Plus. It was like a simultaneous release, it looks like, so I will do that. Okay, the next book is one I've talked about multiple times on my channel that has just released this month. I don't even think yet when I post this video, and that's Psychopomp and Circumstance by Eden Royce. I got an advanced reader copy from Tor, so thank you, Tor, who's also my publisher for Africa Risen, so that felt really good. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I've talked about it a lot, but think Southern Gothic, magic vibe, Black Reconstruction era, dark spooky fantasy. It hits all my buttons, and I love anything that mixes the magical with the historical, so it looks like it's going to be an excellent book. Next up is a book I actually have the physical copy of, but for whatever reason I couldn't find it when I was putting together this TBR. So I have it with the old school cover. I'll throw up on the screen because I think it's actually more beautiful than the current cover. Not because the current cover isn't beautiful, but because it only features the young maid girl, blood maid girl, when it's really this twisted kind of romance between three characters. But anyway, staying on the historical spooky vibes, we have The Wicked and the Willing by Lyonne Riley, which is, as it's described, an FF Gothic horror vampire novel. So it has a romance, and as you can see, I have already started the audiobook. I started a while back, actually, and then dropped it. Not because it was bad, but because I read a lot. I'm a mood reader, so I'll get into something and then get out of something. But I really wanted to read something sapphic this month, and I also wanted to read something with vampires, and I had a couple of options because I have a surprising amount of the microgenre of lesbian vampire romances, but this is the one I decided to select because I already had started it, and I was about an hour into it, so it was really, really good. So this is a historical vampire gothic romance set in, the vibe is given like the 1920s because it's kind of leaving me now some of the finer details of the plot. But basically, this young girl is at the end of her luck. Her parents have passed away / gambled away all of her money, and she signs up to be like a servant girl for this really rich European woman who lives on this very creepy gothic mansion on the outskirts of the city. Now, there's a very cool and just like very older, sexy woman vibe servant at the quarters as well that is kind of acting as like a teacher for her, but basically we know, but the character doesn't know, that her mysterious lady is effectively a vampire. And so it's like this, it's just so much tension in this book because, mind you, it's 15 hours long and I was locked when I was listening to it. So I feel like I will devour this maybe like on a long, slow, lazy Sunday or something. It was just really, really good. And so I realized I wanted the book in front of me because there's a lot of terms I don't know. The characters, I don't know if they're Malaysian Chinese or something. But like they're Chinese, I'm pretty sure. And so there's also like words and phrases I'm not familiar with. So I really want to read the book as I listen to this audiobook. But yeah, really juicy, really dark imagery. And then the other thing that was really interesting about The Wicked and the Willing is that if I remember correctly, it has alternative endings. So it's almost like a choose your own adventure book. I don't know how that is going to be pulled off in the audiobook format, which makes me wonder if this is actually 15 minutes long, or will it stop at some point like those old school choose your own adventures that's like copyrighted, that's why you can't say that for like your novel, and will it just stop and tell you like jump to chapter 18 if you make this choice? I don't know, but if I remember correctly, that was also what interested me about the novel when I picked it up, was the older cover, was the fact that it was a choose your own venture lesbian gothic historical novel. It just had a lot going on and a lot of good things going on as well. Okay, that is the first 3 books on my TBR for October, which has all the books that are on this Kobo right here, or audiobooks, or, you know, basically stuff that I don't have physically, other than Wicked and the Willing, because like I said, I have that book, I just don't know why I couldn't find it for this list. So we're going to go on to the other books on my TBR that have those spooky season vibes. So first up is a beloved series for me that I just never got the rest of the volumes. I did get this year, and I really want to finally finish it. I was rereading the ones that I've read before, and then I was reading a lot of them in Kobo Plus, actually, and then they dropped off. You had to pay for them, and I had the physical book, so I was like, let me just pick it up from there. So that is Devil's Line by Ryo Hanada, Volume 8. I'm actually probably going to read this right after I finish this video, because, yeah, Devil's Line it's that manga, right? It is older teen manga in which the world has these creatures that are vampire-esque but much more monstrous. I wonder if I can find a scene of a transformed devil, because that's what they're called. Yeah, here you go. Like, if you can kind of see that, like those large teeth, it's just a lot going on. But they crave blood, like a vampire, but they are not vampires. They're their own, like, kind of creation. Anzai is a devil who hunts devils, which is always a plot I really like. A serial killer taking down a serial killer, a devil hunting a devil, etc. I love the moral ambiguity of, like, fighting against your nature in that kind of way. But anyway, he works for like a special police force that keeps the devils under wrap, because basically in this world, devils and humans live side by side, but there's kind of like this shadowy organization behind the scenes causing trouble and just a lot going on. And then on top of that, he has this wonderful romance with Tsukasa on the back, with the scar on her face. And yeah, it's also slightly sexy, because when I originally picked this up, you see how it says age 13 plus. I really consider this more older teen, because there's especially some scenes in like the middle-ish of this series, because there's 13 volumes, I'm pretty sure, and I reread up to volume 7, and like in that middle-ish point, there's some scenes I'm like, what's happening right here? But yeah, she is a human, he is a devil, and so you just got a lot going on. And what I'm really excited about in this volume is learning more about his backstory. I really hope to finish this whole series this month, but I'm only putting one volume because, again, I like the number 13 for a spooky TBR. Plus, that's much more reasonable than saying I'm going to finish the whole series and then neglect this big stack of books down here. But I hope I can finish the whole series and then binge watch the anime, because I never watched the anime because it came out when I stopped reading and doing a lot of stuff. And so it would just be really nice, like a Devil's Line marathon after I finish the series, to send it off nicely. Moving right along, we have a rom-com that has a paranormal flavor, and that is Witchful Thinking by Celestine Martin. I absolutely adore this cover. I have had this book for an unreasonable amount of time, which I also got signed during Black Romance Book Fest, as you can see here. And I have, I think, the first 3 books. I don't know if this is going to have any more books in the series, but I have Witchful Thinking. I think the follow-up is, what is it? Let me see if it's in here. The 3rd book is Deja Brew. I know that for sure because it has an autumnal type of cover going on with it. But for whatever reason, I can't remember the 2nd book, and I think that one involves the merman. So that kind of frustrates me because I love mermen and mermaids and all that good stuff. But anyway, what is Witchful Thinking about? It is about this small magical town called Freya Grove with seaside magic, charm, hexes, you know, that witchy vibe going on. And basically what happens is this witchy woman, Lucinda, and her high school crush get basically forced proximity together because he needs her to unjinx his house. It promises to be a magical romance, and I really just need a magical romance in my life, especially after reading an extreme horror novel and about to read some pretty heavy duty horror manga as well. I feel like I needed romance sprinkled in throughout this TBR, and so I'm very excited to finally finish this book and then read the rest of the series. Next, we have a book I substituted in because I finished At Dark I Become Loathsome by Eric LaRocca early, so I picked up a monstrous romance, which is How to Woo a Warrior Orc by January Bell, a cozy monster romance. The cover is to die for. I actually found this author on Kickstarter, but I didn't have the funds at the time, nor the desire to spend so much on an unknown author to me. But I love orcs. Like, hello, I adore orcs. And so I was like, oh, I really want to try it out. And then funny enough, in Baltimore during the first Monster Eroticon book convention, Monster Romance book convention, she was there and she ended up not only selling me this book, but signing it. So I am really excited. This one is another kind of magical small town. This one being Wild Oak Woods, and she runs a magical bakery and he works there with her, and they are preparing for a harvest festival that I felt was very, you know, autumnal vibes. So I'm excited for this one and I can't wait to read. Moving right along, we get into much darker but still slightly romantic fantasy, and we have The Sorcerer of the Wildeeps by Kai Ashante Wilson. I have the second book in this like duet, I think it is, which is A Taste of Honey journey. I'll throw up the cover here so you can see, but I really want to get this one done. This one follows an earthbound demigod, who I'm assuming is this guy right here, who is following this caravan along with this guy he's in love with called the Captain. There's like this necromancy element that's kind of haunting this journey, and the book starts out with like this empire basically going to, they emancipate a bunch of slaves, and then they're going to conquer some territory and like take a bunch of people as slaves too. So I don't know if that's a part of the plot for them, or that's just something kind of framing this journey going on. But anyway, it promises magic, gods, a pretty intense gay romance, and it looks like it's right up my alley. Okay, jumping back into romance land, because you're going to keep seeing me go from really dark or really hard fantasy to lighter romance. We have That Girl Who Ran Off and Kissed a Vampire by K.R.S. McEntire. And this one is just super, super cute. It is a high school young adult romance in which the title says it all. This girl ends up kissing this vampire and falling in love, and some shenanigans happen later. I just love the name Raven as well, so that kind of drew me to the book. I love the cover. There was a sprayed edge edition that had pink edges, but again, couldn't splurge on it. I got this book at Imaginarium. A lot of these books also are a part of like book hauls I kind of did when I had this big bookish summer. That video will probably come out in December, but once you do see it, you'll see all these conventions I went to, and this is one of them. And I really liked what she wrote because she signed it. She said, "Stay magical and thanks for the support," with this beautiful picture of Raven in the front. And I'm really loving this trend of authors, you know, when they have the resources, doing more illustrations and illustrated editions, even for their normal print runs. It just makes it a little bit more magical, I think. But anyway, really excited about this, and I really desperately needed something short and sweet up between, as I said, darker works during this spooky TBR. We move to another book I've spoken a lot about, and that is Ring Shout by P. Djèlí Clark, in which the horribly racist movie, The Birth of a Nation, inspires like a demonic plague to sweep America, and this ragtag group comes together to hunt Ku Kluxes in the end times. This audiobook is like months delayed. Like I won't get it for a long time if I put it on hold at Libby, which is why I wish my library would get some other things like Hoopla, and I think it's like Palace is like a project too, but beggars can't be choosers. Our library is already small, so I'm very happy with our Libby selection as is. But that's why I love getting stuff in print, and in this case as a hardcover, and I plan to finish this month. I originally and I just love the blood red hardcover, by the way. I originally wanted to do a big read of all the books I mentioned in a video that I'll link down in the description, which was talking about books off my TBR I think you should read after watching Sinners, which was a fantastic movie. But I found that these two spoke to me the most, Psychopomp and Circumstance and Ring Shout, and so I think I'm just going to focus on these and maybe do like just a maybe at the end of the year, do a 24-hour reading challenge. And during that 24-hour reading challenge, look through my TBR videos or other stuff in my shelf and see what I really want to read before the new year. And maybe I'll pick some of the books from that video. But for now, I just really hope I finish Ring Shout by P. Djèlí Clark, as well as Psychopomp and Circumstance. Now we are about to look at, quite honestly, I was really torn between picking this or what I ended up picking, my mid-year book freakout tag video that I'll also link in the description, as the most beautiful book I own. And this is the first book of the Mexica Chronicles, The Tournament of Heirs. And let me just bring it out. Let me just show you the absolute gorgeousness of this gilded, printed edged special edition that is just one of the most beautiful books I have ever owned. Look at that gold. Oh my goodness. It is by Amilea Perez, and I picked this book because I actually started it much earlier in the year. I found this book actually on KU off of like a Bookstagram ad before it really blew up. She has done also a masterclass in marketing. This was her first book, by the way. And wow, just the masterclass in marketing. I met her at Romance Out West and pre-ordered this special edition because it was also coming with the audiobook, which I also own. And because whenever, just gagged at the interior formatting as well. Every part of this book is just a treat and a treasure. Signed. But here we go. Whenever I open a book and it has a glossary or pronunciation guide, I instantly search for an audiobook, because the last thing I want to do is be mispronouncing actual historical names, etc., place names, just in a fantasy type setting. In this story, two siblings have to compete in this tournament to basically inherit the empire. It has a really thrilling plot line, kind of like duel and try romances going on. It's very, very vibrant, and the world is very, very cool so far. The audiobook is top tier. I've only listened to a smidge of it, but like I said, can't wait to listen to the rest. And because I also have the ebook, I don't have to mess up this beautiful slipped case cover. This can go back on my trophy shelf. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. I really wanted to read a Hispanic author, especially like a Latina author, for Hispanic Heritage Month that ends October 15th. And the other reason why I wanted to pick this, because it's not particularly spooky, so you might be like, why is this on a spooky TBR for October? Past the Hispanic Heritage Month, I really loved just the integration of magic and like this kind of like, throwback fantasy where everyone picked a house and you had certain powers by being in that house. I wish I had the other parts of the special edition, because no, it didn't just come with this book. It came with like all these trinkets and goods and art prints. Amazing work. But yeah, I just really I just vibe with it. I would say this is like, I say new adult, but I can't remember how the author markets it. I'm going to say new adult because there is like sexual scenes in here. But in YA, you can have sexual scenes, but what am I trying to say? It's like, it feels more grown. It just feels more grown. So yeah, I'm probably not selling this book that well. If you're just a little cover crow like me and a pretty cover makes you buy a book, just buy the book off of the pretty cover. In the regular edition cover is beautiful too. I'll pop that up. Book 2 is already out as well. So yeah, I am going on a book buying ban next year because I want to read more from my library. I don't want to read my entire library, because this is just my philosophy on this. I do not believe a home library should be a collection of books you've read. That is, by definition, a book collection. It's things that you have already read and enjoyed. A library is a vast number of books that you may or may not have read. I have always wanted a home library growing up, and I do have that now. I have about like 700 books, maybe that, including manga, novellas, big thick novels, you name it. But one of the things I want to do is shop more of my shelves, because I feel like I've done a really good job this year. I'll end this year reading, unless like something happens, God willing, nothing happens. I'll end this year reading over 100 books, but I feel like I've had so many books on my shelves for years that I really just need to pick up, because every time I do, I'm like, you're a banger. You are just as good or even better than I expected you to be when I brought you 5 years ago. And so I really just want to just shop my shelves more. And so you might be like, what does this have to do with Amelea's book? Well, book 2 is out. At the end of the year, I am going to go through everything I've read and see what I want to get book 2 of, or 3 or whatever in the series, or if I can complete the series like Devil's Line, and just stop buying books for at least a year, maybe 2. And so because my library doesn't have every book in existence, and even with interlibrary loan, I can't get my hands on certain books, I really want to make sure I have access to the books I'm going to read immediately, versus buying books and letting them sit, and then again, eventually getting around to them. But at the same time, I'm like, if I love this book, I don't want to finish this 2 years down the line, and by then she's finished with the series. You know what I mean? I want to be more actively engaged in the fandom of the novels I'm reading as they're coming out, versus becoming a fan like 5 years later after they've come out, and not just having that fan fangirl moment as well, because I do consider myself a lifelong fangirl, and becoming a working adult has really hampered my ability to be in community. And so while I think a lot of people are doing book buying bans to combat like overconsumption or something like that, my reasons for it are actually because I want to consume more media, and to consume more media I had to get through my backlog. And the biggest media I consume, engage with, enjoy, outside of like music, anime, movies, etc., is books. Like, it's my single biggest hobby, to the point I have a separate journal for it, versus like the media journal that I think I'm going to start later this year. And so with that in mind, I'm like, I can no longer keep buying these books and not reading them if I want to go on a big book buying spree and then get into the fandom after it's basically died. So, long rant in the middle of this video. Let's keep going. But yeah, I adore that book visually, and I hope that I really adore that book physically. Is that the way you put it? Anyway, I'm yapping now. Let's continue. Next up is yet another book I have already started but never finished. You'll see a lot of this in my last two TBRs, which is crazy to say for 2025. My last two TBR videos for the year are going to be a bunch of books I started and I kind of just want to finish before the year wraps up. And that is I Accidentally Summoned a Demon Boyfriend by Jessica Cage. This one went mega viral, and Jessica Cage just in general, which I'm so happy for her. I got this off of Kickstarter. You can kind of see the ugly smear from the autographed copy there. I have the bookmark of the second book, I Accidentally Hooked Up with a Vampire, for whatever reason inside this one, because I also have that rom-com. I should also have the audiobooks of both of those books, but for whatever reason I can't find it in BookFunnel, because I have the audiobook of Amelia's book that was a special edition. I swear I got the audiobook for this, but I'll reach out to Jessica and see. It's signed that says drink wine and raise hell, and this is a demon rom-com when accidentally summons a demon boyfriend. It's pretty straightforward. That's why I love rom-com titles, because you get what's on the cover, you get what you expect to get. The first two books seem amazing. There is a third book out, and this is yet another one where I'm like, the fandom is hot. You know, it's big. I've even seen an AI ripoff cover of this cover that it's gotten so popular. So I'm just like, read it, Olivia. Finish reading it and read the other book and see if you want to get the third book and stop slacking. Okay? So, beautiful black cover, demon romance. It's giving spooky and it's giving cute. Lo and behold, you guessed it, another book I've already started, and that is a sequel to Lore of the Wilds, Lore of the Tides by Analeigh Sbrana. Now, I got the first book signed at Black Romance Book Fest, but I actually pre-ordered this book from Capital Books. It was, I think, the first time I pre-ordered a book from a bookstore that wasn't like a local bookstore to me, because I've been getting more into the pre-order campaigns where you pre-order from a certain bookstore and you get like art prints and different things from the author. And so for this one, I got this amazing vellum featuring Finn and Lore in a scene that I guess comes later in the book, because I haven't finished it. So if you haven't finished book one, you can kind of see right here in small print. I also own the print. I just didn't bring it for this TBR. I would say finish that first, because it ends on a cliffhanger. It's not much I can say of Lord of the Tides without you reading that book. Like, to be honest, even the cover's kind of a spoiler, which is kind of a spoiler in of itself. So yeah, I would just say, like Lore of the Wilds and you like Lore of the Tides, I think you would really enjoy Foxes and Poisons by Dina Childs, which I mentioned in the beginning of this video, because they both have this black high fantasy new adult feel that I think you will just fall in love with. And yeah, I love mermaids. I love, you know, magical sea-based adventures. And so I'm excited to finish Lord of the Tides, because that means I will have finished the duology, and I'm just excited. So anyway, I may get the audiobook back, because I started this in July when it came out. I had the audiobook at the time, lost the audiobook, and then a lot happened between July and now. And so I may just read the hardcover straight if I don't get the audiobook in time for the end of October, because I do want to finish this in October. Okay, I am rapidly losing light for this video, but it kind of works because we get to the darkest of the books, in a way. Well, it's in the title. And that is Immortal Dark by Tigest Girma. which has one of the most gorgeous covers I have literally ever seen. And then it has on the side in the printed edge, no soul can enter without an invitation. So yeah, this one, I wouldn't say it doesn't need introduction because it's not like everybody in the world has read this, but including me, right? But Immortal Dark is a black gothic, what is it? Dark academia, I think is what they call it, story. Vampires. It has black people. It has a college romance that is dark and twisted, and it has vampires. That's why it's on the list. What's on the can? It also has a sequel that's coming out this year, and similar to everything else, while I haven't started Immortal Dark, this is a prime example of a book that I believe this is one of the few books I bought full price, like at a bookstore, because it sounded right up my alley. And let me just see. Oh, inside is like very, very pretty. It feels like a special edition, even though it's pretty reasonably priced. You can buy in the stores. I bought it for apparently $20 because it says $19.99 US, because I do know I bought this new. And let me see. Ethiopian author, also pretty cool. Okay, not too bad actually. Not too bad. This came out in 2024. So not too bad. But there are books on my shelf that I literally bought like 5 years ago that I haven't gotten to despite reading so much. So yeah, this one, not too bad. It was a sequel coming out. I really do want to read it. I feel like spooky season is the time to read it. And then it's just so beautiful. I just love a beautiful book. I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to end this TBR with these 13 books with this quote from the author or her dedication. For the black girls who've always marveled at the dark beauty of vampires, the immortals look like us in this one. So, yeah, it's giving dark academia. It's giving black vampires. It's giving immortal creatures that look like, me. Maybe you too, but at least look like me, and that's always special to me. As someone that has been a lifelong sci-fi and fantasy reader, and until pretty fairly recently, it was very rare to find books with people that look like me, even humans, let alone the fantasy creatures. So yeah, I just think this is going to be a great send-off for spooky season, because I do hope to read this between Halloween Eve and Halloween night. Oh, that is my now reversed pile of books I plan to read in October. And like I said, I'm going to start with Devil's Lines and get to reading that with this beautiful bookmark I got at Black Romance Book Fest by the Bookmark Babes, a small company that just makes some gorgeous bookmarks. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed my spooky TBR for October 2025. Hope you found some reads that you might want to check out, and maybe check out an orc romance, because we love these orcs out here. As always, I leave my videos with a question for royalty, and as well as our distinguished guests. If you made it this far, subscribe to the channel. We got more books to talk about, okay? So my question to you is, what is your favorite spooky creature? For me, I love werewolves, and even though you haven't seen the werewolves in this pile, you've seen a lot of vampires, trust and believe I'm going to sneak a werewolf romance in before the end of October. Okay, with that said, I'll see you next time, royalty. And I can't wave like usual, so bye!